we were in my mom and dad's basement because of the effect that burglary had had on my business. And we were there for 3 years. So in 2016, I got it built back up. We had moved out. We were living someplace. And it was me and an assistant. At that point, I took a hard look at the guys that were 20, 30 years down the road from me in their careers. And I thought, who do I want to be? And there were a couple of guys. And the guy I decided I wanted to be was the guy that had time to do a lot other than be an attorney.
Hey, law firm owner, welcome to the Your Practice Mastered podcast. We're your hosts. I'm MPS.
And I'm Richard James. And MPS, today we have a story of transformation, right? Travis Christiansen from St. George, Utah is our guest today. He's been a longtime member in our world. And most importantly, he is extremely supportive of all of our other members. He is oftentimes a mentor to the new people coming into our world. But I'm excited to talk about his transformation today, not only as a law firm owner and watching the transformation he and his team have made. He's got an incredible team, and that's probably one of his biggest strengths, the team that he's built. But also he had a transformation physically. Like, he just took the whole thing seriously and transformed himself. So Travis, welcome to the call today. Thanks for being here.
Glad to be here. Looking forward to having some fun.
Yeah, let's have some fun.
Let's
so
have some
MPS, where do we want to go from here?
Well, Travis, I want to give everyone an opportunity to learn a little bit more about you. So what's something that not everyone might know about you?
Well, so my first job ever was I worked mowing lawns for a couple of the old ladies in my neighborhood. My second job, when I was 8, my dad got a little part-time job and drugged me along, and I was actually then did this for about 7, 8 years. We helped to artificially inseminate turkeys. We would do that. I would do that 2 days a week after school during the school year. And each night we would artificially inseminate about 2,500 turkeys. And I first shared that in great detail in second grade to a first year. And the teacher was her very first year.
Oh, that's perfect.
And needless to say, my dad got called by the principal. What are you teaching your 8-year-old son about reproduction and various things? So that is kind of an interesting thing about me that not a lot of people know, that has made for some great experiences, and I've had a lot of fun with that over the years.
Yeah, you've told me that story. It's still shocking every time I hear it.
It's a first for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's 2,500.
But that's interesting, okay? So that was your dad's business, or he had a job doing that for somebody
My
else?
dad was a school teacher. Okay. And as everybody knows, school teacher wages have gone up, have improved a lot. But it's been like 1979, 1980, and it was something my dad did to help supplement his school teacher income, in addition to being in the reserves and always doing some type of, cement or bricklaying in the summer. So one thing I learned from my dad was just the work ethic, and that's helped me a ton as an attorney, as a student, and everything I've done. And so, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, when I was 12, it was 1983, I had $1,500 in the bank,
Yeah, but that's because your dad taught you how to hustle.
Yeah, how to hustle, how to work, how to always, to never stop and just keep at it.
Yeah, we're similar age. I'm 54, and I was in 1982, I was 12, and my parents opened up a grocery store. And that was my first, I'd cut lawns for some people like you did, but that was my first foray into, having a job and running a business or whatever. And my parents paid me like $10 a week. And I thought it was awesome until I did the math and realized I made like 25 cents an hour or something like that. It was terrible because they had me open the store. They had me close the store. I opened the store on Saturdays, opened the store on Sundays. I went shopping with my father. It was like a full-time gig in addition to school. But I did get paid back in penny candy and video games. So I didn't have $1,500 in the bank when I was 12, 13 years old, but I had a belly full of penny candy. That is for darn sure. And I used to take, where my first foray into business was, is I would take 25 pieces of penny candy, and I would put them in those little brown paper bags. I'm not sure if you're familiar with what they look like, but they're really miniature brown paper bags. And I would put 25 different pieces in them, and I would box a whole bunch up, and I would take them to school, and I would sell them from my locker for 50 cents. So I made a 50% margin in my first business. So, yeah. Problem is I ate a lot of the profits. So
I love the early on side hustles. I've been there, I've done that. In fact, the telltale sign that I grew up in an entrepreneurial household was when I was probably 12 and wanted to go on vacation, had to find other friends to cut lawns for me. So that was that was part of that journey.
Well, wait. Our first telltale sign that was when Michael came home and said to his mom, "Hey, Mom, I need 8 dozen, 10 dozen chocolate chip cookies." And she goes, "For what?" He said, "Well, for the neighbors, they want to buy them." She goes, "Well, you're going to have to sell them first." He goes, "No, I already did. I got the money. I just need the cookies now. You got to go make the cookies." So, Travis, I think entrepreneurship does start a little bit young, but I guess I don't know if Michael was going to ask this bridge question, but did it lead to you understanding when you became a lawyer that you were going to have your own practice?
No, actually, one of the things that that I've overcome, quite honestly, is I'm the first entrepreneur in my family ever. Both of my grandfathers, had work. My dad had a government job. Yeah, it was just, and so actually, up until about 5-6 years ago, anytime there was an ad that my mom saw for a government attorney job, she would call me, "Hey, Travis, so-and-so is hiring. Have you applied at this county or that county or this city or that city?" Because, you'd have a steady paycheck and to humor her, I would go, look at the ad and say, "Yeah, Mom, the pay's, yeah, it's okay, but gosh, the freedom I would lose." Today, it doesn't matter, but it's 2:15 where I'm at. And my triplets, I have triplets that are 14. They're all girls. They're freshmen in high school. They've made the high school tennis team. Well, I blocked out that their match starts at 4 o'clock. It's 30 minutes from my office. I will be leaving here at 3:20, get my Diet Coke. I keep the lawn chair in my truck, and I'm going to go and watch my girls play tennis and leave early. That's one of the blessings of being an entrepreneur, owning your own firm, is you can give yourself permission to be a family person. I chewed out one of the associates that works for me. We were kind of doing a case review today, and I said, "Just ask out the family." "Oh, my wife's at a well child, their pregnancy checkup." And I said, "Why are you here? Go be at the doctor with your wife. That's way more important than sitting here reviewing our 120 cases we're reviewing right now." And he was like, "Really?" "Yeah, well, I need to work." "Well, work until 5:30 today or 6, but go be with your family." Anyway, just important things that entrepreneurship gives me the flexibility to do.
Very well said.
Yeah, I tell you, that comment you made to your team, I think our team would tell us that we feel the same way about them, and we encourage that behavior. But I was raised that you're supposed to get every single drop of blood, sweat, and tears out of every single employee every single time, every hour of the day. And for many years, my management style was just that. You were to be at your desk at 8:50, not 9 o'clock, ready to go to work. If you took too many cigarette breaks, I had an Excel spreadsheet to show you exactly how many you took and how much it cost the company. So I was bad at this at first, Travis. Michael, you were never really bad at this. Maybe you saw it in me and saw the change, or I don't know how did you learn it? Because you've always been a good leader and a good manager and been fair. You don't try to drill it into people. Why do you think that is, MPS?
Well, I feel like I understand what that does to people. And so I recognize that if you've made the right hire, they're going to be motivated to get their work done. And so if they're motivated to get their work done, they're going to get their work done, which means if they want a little extra time or they want to go take a trip somewhere, as long as they've got their stuff done, I don't care. Because that means they're happy, we're happy, their work is done, and none of us are stressed out all that much. It's just not worth it. And so I think I just recognize that in people. But Travis, what I would love to do is hear a little bit more about the journey. So from artificially inseminating turkeys to law firm owner, the high points. How did you move from there to there?
So there's really a few stories here. So first story, I played college football. I'm the first guy from my high school to play 4 years of college football. In high school, believe it or not, I was first team All-State in Utah defensive back. I go to college. They turned me into a guard. I ended up playing for Center College in Danville, Kentucky, as it's a Division III school, but I played and started as a guard for 3 years. Ended up first team all-conference offensive lineman. And I was 215 pounds my senior year doing that. At the end of that, my college football coach, Joe McDaniel, is in the College Football Coaches Hall of Fame. I've got to give him props. Amazing man. He sat me down and said, all right, Travis, he'd been coaching for 45 years at this point. He says, you are in one of the top 5 most competitive people I've ever met and coached. So I need you, if you want to have a successful marriage and personal life, you've got to find a career that you can compete at. And so I became an attorney based in part on that conversation, my desire to help people, the intellectual challenge, and the fact that I can compete. There is nothing more fun than cross-examining a crooked cop. It just gives me joys and goosebumps and the happy-go-luckies. Anyway, and so that's why I went into law school. Law school kicked my butt. It was really hard. I got a job from a guy that was about 5 years older than me that had actually given my dad his job at the high school my dad was at for 31 years. And worked for him for about 8 months. He was a brilliant person, great guy, horrible businessman. So July bar, came work for him, October. May, we go to my wife's grandpa's funeral. I come back from that funeral, May 28th, 2000. He says, Travis, I can't afford to keep you on, but you're welcome to stay in that office you're in for free for a while until you get it figured out. And I said, thanks, I'm gone. I called my wife. Hey, babe, guess what? I just started my own law firm. Where are you going to do that? Our living room. Back in the day, I didn't have a cell phone. They had these things called market expansion phone numbers. I don't know if you ever heard of those or remember those. MPS probably hasn't. Rich, you probably remember. So what it was is you could get a phone number that would ring so I got a business line that rang at my home phone with a distinctive ring pattern. So when your phone rings, it would, ring, ring. Market expansion did ring, 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 ring. So you knew. So when that happened, law office of Travis Christiansen, whether my wife or I closest to the phone, that's how we answered the phone. I had my computer set up at the dining room table. We ate on the couch. And if I needed to meet with a client, it would be, I've got court on Tuesday. They've got a great conference room. Why don't you meet me up there? I did that for 6 or 8 months until my wife found me a cheap executive suite. And that's how I started. Fast forward, and I became me and an assistant. We do this until 2013. 2013, we had an armed burglary in the office. Guy was shot, attempted arson, tried to light my desk on fire, wrote death threats on my law school diploma and bar admittance certificates on the wall. I'm giving you the highlights, guys. This story is 45 minutes in and of itself. And then, so that is November 11th, 2013. I now have triplets, and I'm like, oh, crap. So I called a buddy of mine around a hotel. Anyway, we stayed at a hotel under the name of Mickey Mouse for 8 nights straight. My wife and kid did not leave the room. I would go down and get breakfast, take it up with the death threats and everything. Crime unsolved still to this day. So that's November. By April of that next year, I am out of money. Nobody wants to hire the attorney in the small town whose office has been burglarized, death threats, and tried to be burned down. It just evaporated. The other events led. So at this point, some other things had happened unrelated to that. We moved into my mom and dad's basement where we thought we would be for a couple of months. My landlord at the time, because we sold our townhouse because we outgrew it when we had triplets, he comes to me and says, I got to file a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. I save this much money on the plan if I live in this house. But I only got to live here for 2 months. So we put all of our stuff in the garage. He moved in. We were in my mom and dad's basement because of the effect that burglary had on my business. Yeah, and we were there for 3 years. So in 2016, I got it built back up. We had moved out. We were living someplace. And it was me and an assistant. At that point, I took a hard look at the guys that were 20, 30 years down the road from me in their careers, and I thought, who do I want to be? And there were a couple of guys And the guy I decided I wanted to be was the guy that had time to do a lot other than be an attorney. And so 2016, I think, is when I first encountered Your Practice Mastered and the toolkit back then. And started learning and started developing systems in my business and started the journey of learning how to build something. So that's the Cliff Notes version of a story. MPS's eyes, if you're on the video, are huge. Rich is like, I've heard some of this, but hearing it all in one thing, it's like, okay, this is a lot, man. Anyway,
I mean, Alonzo, there's your headline, Alonzo, right? It's from I survived burglary, trying to burn my office down, having to move into the basement of my parents or my in-laws. Which one was it? Your parents or
it was my parents. And so we had moved in there before we realized. We moved in there on March 1st of 2014. We didn't, and I had a reserve and I didn't realize. And then finally in April, I'm like, I'm out of money. I've worked off all my retainers. And then I sat and thought, like, the phone hasn't been ringing. No one has been calling. Anyway, so it was a journey. I was grateful for some of that. So, yeah.
Well, the most important thing is today, here we have this conversation. So for that law firm owner that's listening to this, I don't know when you're listening to it. I don't know if it's a Saturday morning. I don't know if it's Saturday at 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't know if it's a Wednesday night and you're like, I can't do this anymore. When you're a business owner and things go bad, sometimes they can go really bad. And sometimes it's out of your control, and sometimes it's things that we make mistakes with. And the good news is that no matter how bad it gets, it can be survived. Now, that's not to say that the difficult times don't stink, because they do. I'm sure Travis and his family were filled with all of the emotional fears and everything that came along with the threats that they had received, but also the financial fears and the financial cancer that came from it. But here we sit today and we hear this story about Travis's transformation into a business owner who not only can take off time to be with his daughters at their afternoon tennis match for school, but also has the wherewithal to look at his associate and say, hey, you should be with your family too, and built a business that doesn't fear that happening because it's run now on the base of systems. So Travis, just like a real quick pause, pin in it. Congratulations, brother, because, there's a lot of people that would have quit. There's a lot of people that would not have made it through that journey. You already mentioned you're competitive by nature, so that competitive nature kicked in and obviously brought you through that fire, metaphorically and literally. And so congratulations to you.
Yes.
Thanks.
Now,
it's been a journey.
I am curious because so you arrived at that point. We're out of money. What to do next? So what was the tactical thing that you did next?
The tactical thing there, and at the time I really didn't know anything about marketing. And so we're talking 2014. I didn't know anything really about anything. I had a couple of things that happened that were fortuitous as far as it helped me save in some cost. I had some guys that were starting a VoIP company and they needed an attorney. And I said, hey, I need phones, guys. And so about that time, I became partners with some guys and we started a voice over internet protocol phone company that I own a little bit of. Never got a dividend, but I haven't had a phone bill since then, which is money in my pocket, right?
Of course it is.
So that was one thing. And then I had built a good enough reputation that some of my colleagues started referring stuff to me. And so I was able to get enough to keep going, and just by force of will, the relationships that I had build it back up. And like I said, I got to that point where I was back to me and an assistant. We were doing pretty good, but I wanted to be more. So I sought out learning systems, learning about, how to onboard a client well and do it right, knowing what my numbers were from a marketing standpoint, and tracking those kinds of things. Other things, just systematizing. We use some automation software to help make it so when we get somebody in on some flat fee type work, we could process paperwork in a hurry and get that done and maximize some of those things. But it was really just having that mind shift, quite honestly, from being an attorney to trying to learn how to become a business owner that one of the services I offered happened to be legal services. I also started offering more financial services with some other licenses that I had and hadn't really used much, that allowed me to more affirmatively pursue business, where sometimes as an attorney we have to take this passive or the jail mail thing. It's hard to directly target people. So really that mind shift changed from being, look, I'm just going to be an attorney and be a servant in the community, help people, to let's be a business owner, act like a business owner, think like a business owner, treat people how I would like to be treated as when they work for me, and help them get better, give them training. And so I was saying, in 16, I wanted to make that shift. So I started doing research and looking for various places to do that. And that's how I met you guys.
Well, Travis, that mind shift change is huge. But one tactical thing I think I'll point to, how many team members do you have now?
Right now, we've got 3 staff, 3 other attorneys.
Yeah. So I will tell you, I don't know your other attorneys very well, but I know your staff. And boy, they're rock stars. So, what do you think your secret was to finding just great team members? Did you know them? Did you cultivate it? Did you because you really have great team members, right? So how did you make that happen?
So first off, I think one thing is I was willing to do the unorthodox hire. My office manager / main legal assistant has been with us for about 7 years. She came from a background of being a waitress and actually managing 3 hotels. And she was sick of the night jobs. She was sick of the 24/7, hey, the toilet's backing up in room 201 and we can't get a hold of maintenance. Who do we know when she's trying to sleep at night and the front desk is calling her when she's running a hotel? So I focused on finding people that had the personality qualities or just the personal ethics and work stuff more than I was worried about that they could type 100 words a minute and they'd had a bunch of legal experience. It was hire for those intangibles really more than the tangible skills, because you can teach somebody how to draft a petition, you can teach somebody how to do those sort of things, answer the phone, but some of those just customer service, want to take care of people, loving personality types, you can't. And then most everyone we've hired after her has been through connections, through networking. I haven't found many of them through the online places that, we could throw under the bus, but we won't, that just seem to give you all kinds of garbage. But it was through networking is how we've hired most people. Referrals, a friend of a friend of a friend that can vouch for them. And like I say, we give them a little personality test to see if their personality is going to match up with the job we need them for. And then it's just loving on them and giving them good training that's created what it is.
Well, I love, you want to talk about dropping a bomb there, man. That is like that knowledge bomb for attorneys to pick up with, they think oftentimes they have to go find that experienced paralegal or that experienced person, a legal assistant or whatever. And that's not the case. Like, we want to hire for character. We want to hire for attitude. We want to hire for a willingness to serve. And what a great, if you want to talk about an ad, whether you put it on Facebook to your group and work your network, or just let your friends know, hey, do you know anybody who's really good at X, Y, and Z, but they're sick and tired of being called at 2 o'clock in the morning by their job, or don't like working nights anymore, or whatever it is. We're really looking for some great talent that, they're just sick and tired of where they're at and maybe want to make a leap. And you'd be surprised who's going to show up, right? And if you just start paying attention out there to the server, the waitress, or the waiter that gives you amazing service and going the extra mile for you and having a conversation with them, and you'd be surprised where you can find this amazing talent. I tell people all the time, go poach from Chick-fil-A, go through the Chick-fil-A drive-through. And they're excellent trainers of talent. And you could, amazing how you can find great talent. Most of them are happy with their jobs, but some of them have gotten to the point where they're sick and tired of smelling like chicken. So you never know if they want a job at a law firm. And, the one thing about owning a law firm is there's, even though we all know the inside secrets of what a law firm really is like and the down and dirty secrets behind the scenes about how hard it is and all that stuff, the rest of the world actually looks at a law firm and thinks, ooh, you work at a law firm. There's some prestige that comes along with that, right? And so somebody who's not working at a law firm and or doing some other job and has the opportunity to come work at a law firm really positions themselves in a light of their society and their peers and their family in a way that makes them feel good. And so law firms have a real marketable job position if they'll do it correctly. MPS, you find that when you're recruiting non-attorney salespeople, right?
Absolutely. There's a few things. For most law firms, they don't have to go out there and do their own hunting, right? For a sales role, right? So they don't have to do their own hunting. They have consults that get booked on their calendar for them, and they just got to show up and close deals. I mean, that's a closer's dream job right there. 2, they have consistent working hours. So they're not hammering door to door or doing whatever they were in the sales world before that. And definitely carries a little bit of prestige, even a little bit of mysteriousness. Like they kind of wonder, what is it like to work in a law firm? Like it'd be the curiosity that piques their interest because they get an inside scoop of what the law looks like or what it looks like to serve a client in a law firm. So yeah, I love that you just said it. And you said it so like, yeah, I did something a little obscure, but that one piece of information right there could be super, super game-changing for any law firm owner that actually takes that and takes it to heart and implements it. So I appreciate that, Travis. Outside of tennis coming up here today, what's got you fired up and excited? Could be business, could be personal, could be both.
Well, my wife and I, one of the things that systematizing the business has helped us do is we've gone on some absolutely amazing trips. I think in the last 4 years, my wife and I have gone to Scotland and London. We went to Spain. We've been to Paris. We've been to Costa Rica, Hawaii a couple of times. I think Disneyland 3 times. Florida for spring break. And one of our greatest personal struggles was with fertility and having kids. And so we are just absolutely over the moon having fun with our girls. We've got 4 daughters. They're all teenagers, and I've just decided that I'm a Christian, and in the Bible it says something to the effect of by the sweat of thy face or by thy, shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. But I take that personally. I've decided that that's a positive admonition from our Creator, that the human organism isn't designed to retire.
Yeah.
When you do that, you die. Yeah. My partner, Alan Boyack, who passed away about 1.5 years ago, was working up until the week before he died. And then he just, so I've just decided retirement probably not in the cards for me, so we are spending all of our extra money trying to give our daughters great experiences and showing them the world. We're talking about, fall break. We're talking about, maybe London for Christmas, just some of those kind of things. No decision, but it's just what adventures can we give our family? That's what we're looking forward to, and just continuing to build a great law firm. So
you and I are on such the same page, Travis. I didn't do it a lot when our kids were younger, not regretfully. Life is what it is. I traveled a lot. I was in China a lot and traveled around the world a bunch, but didn't take the kids a lot. And then in the last few years, probably 5, 6, 7 years, we did more of that. Maybe in hindsight, I realized we didn't have that opportunity. And so I haven't been to London yet. I'm excited to go, but we are going to Turks and Caicos for Christmas this year. And as you said, your family and my family, my wife and I were in Spain together. And we just booked our first trip to Montana. We've never been to Montana, so we're going to head out to Montana in 2025 and see what that's all about. So I'm with you. And, so to that person who's listening right now, maybe they're like, travel, like I can't even think about, like I can't even get out of the office by Sunday. How am I going to travel? What would you say to them, Travis?
I've done court from Costa Rica.
Okay.
Okay, so, and that's the thing is, COVID was horrible. But the one thing we've learned is we can work remote. Now, I kind of like people in the office mostly so I can keep an eye on them a little bit, and it's easier for us to collaborate. But at the same time, like I say, I did court from Costa Rica. The times when I've been with you guys in different parts of the country at events, you slip out for a half hour, run upstairs, put on a coat and tie, and do a court hearing. So you can do that. It just takes a little bit of planning with your judges if you're in litigation or whatever. Say, Judge, I'm going to need to appear by video that day. And so that's the thing is take advantage of some of the things that we learned from COVID and the technology that's there. And if you've got a couple of things, still travel. When we were in Virginia Beach, we took 2 weeks. And the first week, basically what we did was every other day with my family. One day I would not work and we would go see things, the history in Virginia, Jamestown and Colonial Williamsburg and all of that, right? But then the next day, my kids go play at the pool. My wife would go lay out and read a book, and I would sit in the room and work for a day. And then the next day we would go have fun. So you just have to be a little bit flexible, take advantage of technology, and you can do it. And I built enough and collected enough while I was on vacation to pay for vacation. So it was great.
What a great way to bring this conversation to an end. This idea of, if you just change your mindset a little bit, you actually can have it all. And you can have some balance, and you can raise your kids, and you can travel, and you can still run your business, and you can still earn. You can do all those things. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. It can be a little bit of everything. And that's such a great lesson for everybody to learn. What do you think, MPS?
Oh, I think it's a tremendous lesson. I also think this was an absolutely fantastic episode. So, Travis, I really appreciate all the value you brought today because, wow, just from hearing this story, nonetheless, it's inspiration to everybody, which is awesome. But thank you for taking the time to be here. And to the law firm owners that are listening, thank you for taking your time to be here. We love doing these. And so your way of showing in return that you enjoy listening or watching is hitting that subscribe or follow button, depending on where you're listening or watching, and showing some love down in the comments for Travis. What an episode. Value bombs left and right around here today. So thank you again, Travis, for being on.
Thanks so much. It was fun.
Yeah,
I've got more stories if you ever want to.
Well, I appreciate you.
Yes.
Always, if there's anything we can do for you, we're here for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.